Okay, so we're going to start week 4 of Python. Today we're going to cover loops. We're going to start off with while loops. So quickly, what are while loops? A while loop repeatedly executes the statement as long as a given condition is true. So if we look to the picture, we see that it says while count is greater than 0. And then what's going to happen is count is equal to 5. So it's going to keep repeating the statement inside of the while loop, the print welcome, and then count minus equals 1. It's going to repeat that until it stops becoming true. So it's going to subtract 1, and then you'll have 4, and then count will still be greater than 0. It's going to run again. It's going to go 3, 2, 1, and then once it hits 0, it's no longer going to be greater than 0. It's going to be equal to 0. So the statement is false, and then it's going to move on to the next one. And then you use while loops when you don't know the number of times to iterate or repeat beforehand. So if you were getting like user input and they were inputting a number and then you were supposed to repeat that many times, you would never know what the user is going to input. So you would have to use a while loop that counts. Other examples would probably be maybe when you're iterating through like a string or like a list that you don't know how long it is, then you'd use a while loop. So here is the logic of a while loop. So if we start up here, we enter the while loop and we go to the test condition. If the test condition ends up being false, like if the number is, if we go back here, if count is not greater than 0, it would turn out to be false, and then we would exit the while loop. But if the condition is true, then you would do the statement inside of the body, and then you'd go back around and then you'd do the condition. You test the condition again, and you'd keep repeating this until the test condition becomes false, and then you would exit. So another type of loops are for loops, and for loops are used to iterate for a certain amount of times. It's when you know how many times you want to iterate through. So on the picture, we see a for loop. It says sum equals 0, and for I in range of 10. So in range of 10 creates a range of numbers between, I think it's like 1 through 10 or 0 through 10. It goes through 10. And you do I in range of 10. So it's going to repeat 10 times, and then it's going to complete the statement inside of the for loop. And it's going to do it that many times. So this is the output. You have sum equals 0, and then you have for I in range of 10, sum equals sum plus I, so I is 1, and then you add it, and then you keep printing it out. And I think this is the end of it. So it would go through it 10 times, and it would print it 10 times. So this is only part of the output. So it says that the Python statement iterates over the members of the sequence in order, executing each block one at a time. So it's going to read this statement, and it's going to repeat. It's going to do this line, and then this line. It's going to go back, and it's going to repeat this line in order. That's what it's saying. And you can also go through elements in like a sequence, like a list, a tuple, a set, or string. It doesn't always have to be a set number. If you have a list of items and you want to go through each item, you would also use a for loop too, if you knew how many items were in there. So this is the logic of a for loop. You start off, and then you go into the loop, and you check, has the loop reached the last item? Has it reached the number 10 of its range, or has it reached the last item in the list? And then you would go through, and it says print, or you just do the statement inside of the loop, and then you'd go back and you'd keep checking, and then once the loop has reached the last item, you would stop the loop. So here we have some breakout activities. This is a Boolean activity. This is more of an exploration. You just try out some different operators to see if you can get true or false. You want to use the greater than, less than, equals to. Here's some examples. You want to check if 10 is greater than 9. That's true. So if you print it out, it should output true. So you can go ahead and try this for yourself. Here we have this little activity. It says, write a code that uses a while loop. This is what it should encompass. Roll a dice and get a number between 1 and 6. make a program such that if the number is not 6, the loop runs again and rolls the dice again and prints the new number. And if the number is 6, then print done. So we're going to try that right now. So this is what we're going to do here. So first we want to start off by, I wrote the algorithm out already. And the first thing we want to do is print necessary libraries. Because we are rolling a dice, this would require randomness. So we're going to import random. So we're going to first roll our dice. So we're going to have roll and we're going to set it equal to random.randint and then 1 through 6. So this is gonna pick a random number between 1 through 6 and it's gonna set it equal to roll. And now we're gonna create a while loop that runs until the number is 6. So we're gonna do while roll does not equal 6. We're gonna say roll, we're gonna roll again, or we're gonna start off with printing our number each time so we know this would only run if it's not. So we're going to print roll, and then we're going to roll again. So it's going to be the same thing as above. And this is just going to repeat until the until roll ends up being equal to 6. And then we can print out done. So we might want to print out the last number roll if you want to see the 6. And then so if we run this, oops, I don't think this is one here. Okay, so we see the first time this 1 came here because we rolled it first, and then roll ended up being 1, and then it checked is roll not equal to 6, and that's true, so it's going to execute this inside. So it's going to print roll, which is 1, and it's going to roll again. It's going to pick a random number between 1 and 6, and it's going to set it equal to roll. And it's going to go back here and it's going to check the new number inside roll, which is this time ended up being 3. So that's not equal to, is 3 not equal to 6? That's true. So it's going to execute this again. It's going to print out roll, which was 3. It's going to roll again. And it's going to be 3 again, and then 4, and then 1. And then finally, once it's 1, it's going to print out 1, and it's going to roll again. And it's going to end up being 6. So it's going to come back here. It's going to check this Boolean statement. Is 6 not equal to 6? No, that's false. So it moves on, and then we can print out roll, which is 6, and then print out done. So the reason this is outside of the while loop is because the code will only get to this statement if it exits the while loop, which is when this is false. So that's how this one works. So we also have another activity. This is for a for loop. We're going to do 2 things. First, we're going to write a for loop that prints every odd number from 0 to 100. And then we're going to write a for loop that prints every even number from 0 to 200. So let's do that right now. So we want to create a for loop. So for I in range of, it says through 0 to 100. So we're going to do 100. And then, oh, you can see the answer here. Let me delete all this. We're going to check to see if that number is odd. So the way you do this is, if you look at the definition of even and odd numbers, an odd number is not divisible by 2. So if you were to divide it by 2, you'd have a remainder of 1. So what we're going to do is we're going to do I modulus 2 is equal to 1. So if you remember what modulus does is it takes the remainder after division. So it's going to do I divided by 2, and it's going to give the remainder. And if the remainder is 1, then it's going to be odd. So we're going to print I. So let's run this. Let me see, it starts off with 1, and then it goes on to all the odd numbers to 99. And now we can do the same thing for even numbers. So we're going to do I in range of 100 to create a list of numbers between 1 and 100. And then we're going to do if I modulus 2 equals 0. And so what this does is it's going to take I and it's going to divide it by 2. And then if the remainder is 0, then it's going to execute the statement inside of it. So we're going to print I. And I'm going to comment this out for a second. I'm going to comment this stuff out so that way we can see the answer for this. So if you go here, it starts with 0, 1, 4, 0, and it goes on and on until 98. And it looks like, all right. So here we have some homework, something you can try for yourself. Write a code that takes an integer input from the user until he or she passes Q. Ask to press Q to quit after every integer input and print the average and product of all numbers. It's a little bit of a challenge, but go ahead and try this one. So thank you very much. That is the end of this week's lesson.